That shit's crazy. Like, it's some internet Twitter shit. Like, I saw Scarface was on Twitter and shit, and he's putting out tweets about send me some beats and don't send no bullshit. I'm gonna really listen to the shit. And he put up a link. I ain't had no beats, but I sent some shit, like, and I sent him like a couple tweets about the shit, like, yo, I sent you some shit. It ain't no beats, but it's some shit you should probably hear. And I sent him like Beat Boycott and a couple like songs I was extremely super proud of and shit that had come about. And I sent him that shit, and I ain't think nothing of it. And like 2 weeks after that, I get a phone call from a weird ass number and shit, and I scream, I don't answer phone calls and shit like that. Like, so I let the shit go to voicemail, and the nigga called me right back and shit, and I ignored that shit. And then I get a text from the number, and it's like, yo, your shit is dope as fuck. And I'm like, all right, thanks, who this? And he like, Face, nigga, and I'm like, Face who? Right? Like, what? Like, I don't even know what the fuck. And he called me back. You know what I'm saying? He called me again, I answered the phone, and he was just like, it felt like talking to my uncle and shit. Like, I talked to the man, and what was supposed to be a quick phone call to like see what I was on turned into like a 2-hour conversation, like just about every fucking thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, we talked about all kind of shit, not music related, like all kind of shit. And then he was like, all right, I'm gonna hit you back in a bit, blah, 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 blah. He didn't really say shit. It wasn't no, I want to sign you, whatever. He was just like, yo, this song right here, he's like Scarface calls me playing my shit in the background. And this is like, nigga, Face is like you, if you go through anybody that's on top and been on top for 20 years plus, the only motherfucker that stick out that never fell off or came with some shit that you was like, Face on some, you know what I'm saying, is this nigga. Jay-Z had the Dynasty shit. Niggas was like, oh, he's done when that shit came out. You know what I'm saying? Nas, that is, whatever. Like, anybody you can name, Snoop, Dre, had they little pockets of mediocrity and shit. Every time this dude, though, like, everybody respect him for that, you know what I'm saying? And you on the phone with me playing my shit in the background. Like, I'm tripping right now, you know what I'm saying? Like, that shit is insane. Just that alone, fuck signing me. That alone was like, wow, I'm finna make 10 more albums off the energy from that shit alone. That's it. Like, wow, all right, for sure. So he was like, all right, I'm gonna fuck with you, and I'm like tripping and shit. Like, another week go past, and he sent a text like, you signed with anybody? It's like, you and your man Bionic, y'all signed with anybody? Because Bionic did most of the production for the shit that I had sent to him. And I was like, wow, what up? And he was like, I think I wanna sign y'all and shit on the text. And then he called me again. Like, what's your ideal situation and shit? He asked me a lot of questions just to see what my head was. He's like, I'm saying this signing shit, but I'm early with it. He's like, first I need to ask you this. And he like had a grip of shit. He asked me and ran through, and he was like, okay, perfect. Like, I want to offer y'all some shit, you know what I'm saying? And he broke down terms, like all that shit in one conversation, and we on it, like, oh shit, okay. Like, I just kept sending him material, and he like, everything you sending me is insane. And from there, we just talk about formulating the album, how he don't want it to be like this, he want like he's on some grooming shit, and then all the bullshit happened, so I'm waiting on Face to get home, you know what I'm saying? He got locked up, so I'm sitting still, but not sitting still. Like, I'm still doing music and putting, but that album is on. Doing shit to submit and see if we can finish it off. It's like 85% done, but patience is a virtue. You know what I'm saying? It's a virtue. Like, again, off that phone call alone, man, I'll record shit for the next 10 years just because I like recording it. You know what I'm saying? And you need shit like that, like little fuel bursts, a little something that's just like reminders, like, oh shit, right direction. Yeah, this shit you doing is like next level. It's some other shit. You know what I'm saying? And not just props from motherfuckers you know is gonna think that shit, like from a motherfucker like you respect and you want it like, man, this motherfucker's cold. Like, one of the coldest, I put money on this nigga. And he like, I'll put money on you. Like, shit, well, let's go then, you know what I'm saying? What the fuck can I say to that? I'm riding with you all day. So you be like, no. You know what I'm saying? Other than that, shit, face mob, nigga. Artistically, it's all pros. Because being in Chicago, you don't have that, but like, you don't lean super one way or the other musically, really. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody here, even diehard hip hop fans, got some house music in their background at some point. You know what I'm saying? It's like so diverse, and you're not catching that shit really coming up any other spot or any other metropolis in America and shit. Because of where we located, the type of shit we get, it's a mixture of everything. So we get influenced by everything and spit that back out like ugly. You know what I'm saying? So that's like the biggest pro is like artistically, it's the dopest fucking spot to be from because it's a melting pot of that shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like rich. It's a rich ass environment for that type of shit for sponge people, and it's a lot of sponge niggas here that absorb shit. You know what I'm saying? And that shit is coming out now. Like you listen to that WBMZ station and shit at all. You listen to that shit, it's all Chicago shit. They just playing Chicago shit. If you listen to that shit for like 2 hours, G, you'll be like, you're gonna hear like 4 or 5 joints. That's like, fuck, like who is that dude? Like that shit is sick. And it's just all now that's just the now Chicago, because it wasn't like that for a minute. It was really like a select group of motherfuckers that was really like, man, we gonna burn your ass type rap shit. You know what I'm saying? And now it's like, man, it's insane. There's like a lot of really good dudes here and shit, and females too. Like it's a lot of it's more raw female artists in Chicago than in the industry, period. You know what I'm saying? Like that shit is amazing listening to that shit. So that's like the biggest pro. The con is because like nobody underground wise or whatever since the Common Kanye shit or whatever has really like been recognizing shit or put on or whatever the fuck on some major shit. Like everybody has the idea that they gotta be that one to do that shit. So the assistance level is like fucked up because you gotta be that dude, or you gotta be like there's 20 artists in the room, all of them feel like they have to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's my time, all that type of shit, and that kind of creates like no help. Like I'm saying, there's no like aid and assist on that shit. Where it's like New York niggas big up Brooklyn, New York, all that shit, and And at a time, for a time in Chicago, it was not like that. Like niggas was beefing within themselves, their own ranks and shit, and can't get shit popping because of that. You know what I'm saying? Which that shit's opened up though. Like, and that was why the Ingleworld, the latest mixtape I did, I was trying to like do songs and fuck with niggas that I didn't ever do shit with before, but you from here. And I heard some of your shit through Grapevine or whatever, and it's dope to me. So come do a song, and we gonna do a joint. You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna put that shit out, and we all gonna push. We all gonna push and shit. You know what I'm saying? So the concept of that shit is the crabs in a barrel. Age old fucking tale and shit, crabs in a barrel, and it's extremely true in this city. And luckily it's opening up. Like there's a lot of love being shown. At least like on the internet. Streets is the streets, the internet's the internet. At least on the internet there was a lot of support for their own and shit right now. I got the Conundrum album with Tony Bangs. Far off though, like that's this year, but later this year. The Face Mob album is Apotheosis. That's the album I'm working on with Face. Trying to get that shit knocked out, but that's like the next actual barcoded shit. And beyond that, just I got a joint EP with Marco called Disaster Cinema on some Back to the Theater of the Mind shit, pretty much, but on some other shit like just a few. I got too much shit, you know what I'm saying, to always work. I'm always working. There is no like I'm working on one album for a year, and you know what I'm saying. Like man, I'm working on a album weekly, pretty much. Like there's a new idea that dropping. That shit ain't nothing but a trip to the lab and a lock-in for 3 days, and it's an album done. Like really, like at this point, is that automatic? You know what I'm saying? That's just like subject matters and shit. Give me subjects. Go lock in. It's a wrap. You know what I'm saying? Add to the catalog and shit, you know? The JPS shit definitely, because we got mastered that to that shit. It's just a matter of like deciding what lanes to put it through and what we really gonna do with it. As far as the older shit, like I have a collection of like maybe 40 songs from the whole little 90s era and shit that I pulled that I was gonna do something with. I just haven't decided on exactly what to do with them yet. If I'm gonna break them up into a series and do some Nas Lost Tapes type shit with it, or I don't know, because a lot of it's like really rough, where it's, you know, we was on basement tape shit and never had another copy of it, and this is the only CD, you don't scratch it type shit, you know what I'm saying? So some of that shit sounds like, you know, I don't know, it might be some internal, it might need to stay within the crew and shit, but a lot of it is like, you know, this shit played on the radio, this is how they had it on the tapes when it went to Minnesota, when it went to Indiana, when it went to Ohio, and people heard it and shit, so I don't know yet. But I definitely got a vault full of shit. You already know that, man. It's like, I'm at a good 400, almost 500 songs I just pull shit from. Like, that's just nuts, man. It's nuts. So yeah, Apotheosis, Conundrum, the DC EP, Disaster Cinema and shit, you know. Those are the next real playing joints. I just dropped the Ingleworld double mixtape on New Year's Eve. Material, man. Reverb Nation, reverbnation.com, Griffin312 /Griffin312, or Twitter, twitter.com/Griffin. That's it, pretty much. Once you see the Twitter feed, like, I'll tweet enough about projects and what's going on and how to get at me. Do a YouTube search. I'm Googled out right now, so, you know, it's working. It's working.